Welcome to the deep dive. Today, well, we've got a really fascinating set of sources lined up. It's a collection that kind of forces us to hold two ideas in mind that seem almost contradictory.
They really do seem worlds apart, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. On one side, you have this incredibly vast, ambitious vision for ministry-like, preaching across thousands of miles.
Huge geographical scope.
Right. And then on the other side, there's this pretty troubling lesson about managing resources, told through this honestly shocking story about a dishonest employee.
And not just dishonest, but an employee who gets commended by his boss after committing fraud. It's a real head-scratcher.
It is. So our mission today is to unpack this tension. We need to follow the thread about spiritual leadership, understand this idea of universal faithfulness, and then really tackle that puzzle. What on earth are we supposed to learn about prudence from a steward caught red-handed, squandering property and then cooking the books?
I think the connection, as we'll see, really comes down to urgency and maybe foresight. We're comparing the kind of foresight needed for a mission stretching from Jerusalem, as the text says, all the way around to Illyricum.
Which is immense.
Immense. And comparing that to the very immediate, almost desperate foresight of a guy about to lose his job and trying to secure his future. So the question is, what's the unifying wisdom here? Let's get into the sources.
Okay, let's start with that massive scope the apostolic calling described in Romans 15. What jumps out right away, I think, is that the writer doesn't just launch into bragging about his work.
No, he doesn't. It's quite striking.
He actually starts by complimenting his audience. Says he's convinced they're already full of goodness, filled with all knowledge, and even able to guide each other. It's a strong affirmation.
It really is. It sets the stage differently, doesn't it? It signals that this isn't basic teaching. It's about maybe strategy and completing something bigger. He frames his own role in very deliberate terms, a priestly service of the gospel of God to the Gentiles.
Priestly service. That's interesting language for evangelism.
It is. It suggests the goal isn't just conversion numbers, but making the offering up of the Gentiles acceptable, sanctified by the Holy Spirit. It elevates the whole enterprise into something sacred, something purposeful.
And crucially, how is this mission carried out? The sources stress it wasn't just talk. It was Christ working through the minister by word and deed.
Right, the practical side.
Yeah, and demonstrating power through signs and wonders, all fueled by the power of the Spirit of God. So this was active, visible, measurable stuff.
Exactly. That sets up the claim that follows, which is just geographically staggering. He says he has finished preaching the gospel of Christ in this huge arc from Jerusalem all the way around to Illyricum.
And maybe we should just pause on that Illyricum for anyone listening who isn't, up on their ancient geography.
Good point.
We're talking about a vast region, starting in the Middle East, going through modern-day Turkey, across Greece, and ending up basically on the Adriatic coast, sort of the Western Balkans area.
Yeah. It represents decades of work covering an enormous territory. It's foundational, region-wide outreach.
Definitely not a small local thing. But then there's the strategy he mentions, which is also really interesting.
Yes, the principle behind it. He aimed to preach only where Christ hadn't already been named. He explicitly wanted to avoid, as he puts it, building on another's foundation.
Now, wait, that feels a bit counterintuitive, maybe. Today, you often see efforts focused on reinforcing existing communities. Why only go where it's totally new?
Well, partly it seems to be about respecting others' work, sure, but it's also a very clear strategy for, let's say, maximum expansion, targeting the unreached. It's almost like a spiritual efficiency model, fill the gaps first.
Makes sense.
And he backs it up with scripture, quoting the idea that those who have never been told of him shall see, and those who have never heard shall understand. The goal seems to be total coverage, making sure everyone gets the chance to hear.
Okay, that idea of total coverage, of universal revelation, actually leads us quite nicely into the next source, doesn't it? Psalm 98.
It really does. We shift from one minister's strategy to this huge cosmic view of God's actions.
The core message there is just overwhelming victory and revelation. The Lord has revealed to the nations his saving power. It's stated as a fact.
A done deal. The psalm paints it as something achieved through wondrous deeds. God's right hand has won victory for him, his holy arm. There's no ambiguity about the success of God's saving action.
And I like how the source connects that immense power with God's character. It says, he has revealed his justice and remembered his kindness and his faithfulness, specifically towards Israel, but with global implications.
Absolutely. It's power paired with reliability, with covenant faithfulness, and the scope is just Total. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation by our God. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
It really doesn't.
Hmm.
So when you see that level of divine action and faithfulness, it naturally turns the question back to us, right? What's our part?
Exactly. And that's where the source points us to 1 John. Whoever keeps the word of Christ, the love of God, is truly perfected in him. Our response, our fidelity, is how that divine love reaches its completion, its goal, in us.
Fidelity. Keeping the word, that seems key.
It is, and this focus on faithfulness and sort of wise living sets us up perfectly for the parable that seems to challenge all of that, or at least complicates it immensely.
Right. We pivot from the grand scale, Illyricum, global salvation to something intensely personal and urgent, the need for wisdom in our own lives.
Yeah, captured in that line from Psalm 90, teach us to number our days aright that we may gain wisdom of heart. It's about accountability for the time and resources we've been given.
Which brings us right to the main event, the paradox.
Mm.
The dishonest steward in Luke 16. If we're meant to gain wisdom of heart, how does this story teach it? Let's lay it out carefully. Rich man, manager, steward, accused of squandering his property.
Yep, basically mismanagement, maybe embezzlement.
The boss calls him in and says, give me the final account, you're fired.
It's abrupt. Total crisis for the steward. His livelihood is gone, effective immediately, and he has that moment of panic, thinking, what am I going to do?
He runs through the options. Physical labor. I'm not strong enough to dig. Begging. I am ashamed to beg. He's trapped.
He needs a plan B, fast. And he needs to use the little leverage he has left, which is his current position, however briefly he still holds it.
And the plan he comes up with is, well, it's bold. And fraudulent.
Definitely fraudulent. Knowing he's out the door, he decides to use his master's assets to secure his own future social safety net. He calls in people who owe his master money.
Why? So they'll owe him a favor later.
Exactly. So that, as he says, when I am removed from management, they may welcome me into their homes. He's trading his boss's wealth for future hospitality.
It's stunningly cynical. Let's get the details right because they matter. First, debtor owes 100 measures of olive oil. A lot of oil.
A huge amount represents significant value.
And the steward tells him, quick, sit down, write a new bill for 50.
Just like that. Slashes the debt in half. He's essentially giving away his master's property.
By friendship, basically. Then the next debtor owes 100 measures of wheat, another major commodity.
Right. Staple food. Again, significant quantity.
And the steward says, okay, you wrote 80.
So a 20% discount this time. Still a substantial loss for the master, purely for the steward's personal gain. He's acting fast, using his last moments of authority.
Okay, so he does this. Presumably the master finds out, and here's the moment that just trips everyone up. The text says the master, the rich man who's been cheated.
Yes.
He commended that dishonest steward for acting prudently.
Commended him. Praised him.
Wait, how? Why? This guy just ripped him off. He squandered assets and committed fraud on the way out the door. What is there to commend? Is he praising the theft?
Okay, this is the absolute core of the puzzle, and the text is very careful here. The master commends his prudence, not his dishonesty.
Prudence, meaning
Yeah.
cleverness,
You're...
shrewdness.
Yes, but more than just cleverness. It's about foresight, decisiveness, and effectively using the limited window of opportunity he had to secure his future. The master, presumably a practical man of the world himself,
Right.
he recognized the steward's quick thinking, his resourcefulness in a crisis, even though it cost him personally. He admired the strategy, the effective action taken for self-preservation in that worldly context.
So the praise is purely about effectiveness, completely separate from the morality of it. The steward's actions, though wrong, worked perfectly for his immediate worldly goal.
That seems to be exactly it. And the parable immediately draws the lesson for the listener. For the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation than the children of light.
Okay, so the comparison is key.
Yeah.
Worldly people are sharp, focused, and, yes, prudent when it comes to securing their temporary well-being.
They know how to work the system for immediate gain. They use foresight for this life.
So the so what, for us, isn't go and commit fraud. Definitely not. It's something else. This is where the reflection on the wisdom of eightful stewardship comes in, right? Moving from the shocking story to the actual lesson.
Exactly. The interpretation provided is crucial. The parable isn't a green light for unethical behavior. It's using the steward's intensity and foresight as an object lesson.
How so?
True wisdom, the reflection suggests, isn't just being clever. It's about applying that same level of focus, that same urgency, that same strategic thinking to eternal purposes. Use your gifts and opportunities for eternal purposes.
Okay, I see. The dishonest steward was incredibly prudent about his temporary earthly future. The lesson for the children of light is be at least that prudent, that strategic, that urgent about your eternal future.
Precisely. Apply that same level of smart, decisive action to things that actually last.
That really reframes stewardship, doesn't it? It's not just about managing money honestly. It's about being faithful stewards of everything God gives us, blessings, time, and relationships.
Yes. It connects back to that huge mission to Illyricum that was stewardship on a grand scale. But it also applies right down to how we manage our daily resources, our relationships, our days, as Psalm 90 said.
So there's a choice highlighted here. Living just for worldly gain, like the steward's desperate scramble for temporary security,
Which is fleeting.
versus investing strategically in what truly lasts, things like love, mercy, and righteousness. The steward was efficient for his own comfort. We're called to be efficient for God's kingdom.
It brings the challenge right to us, doesn't it? The source material basically asks you, the listener, how can I use my talents and resources today to build God's kingdom rather than just my own comfort zone?
Every decision then becomes a stewardship decision, a chance to align our practical actions, our prudence, with that ultimate eternal purpose.
It's about recognizing that we're all managing borrowed time, borrowed resources, and an account is coming due for all of us, in a sense. The same decisiveness the steward showed when his job was threatened.
That same urgency.
That's the energy we're supposed to bring to our spiritual life, to our eternal investment strategy, if you like.
Wow. Okay, that really brings it together. We've gone from this massive world-spanning mission,
Jerusalem to Illyricum.
right, this foundational work, down to the nitty-gritty, ethically murky details of one manager settling debts. But the thread holding it all together is this idea of wise, prudent, decisive use of whatever we've been given, faithful stewardship.
And the final point really nails it. The difference between the children of this world and the children of light in the parable wasn't about skill or cleverness. Both could be clever. It was about the object of their prudence.
Where they directed that sharp focus.
Exactly. One focused strategically on the temporary. The other is called to focus with equal or even greater strategic intensity on the eternal.
Which leaves us with a really powerful thought to chew on, doesn't it? If we had to give a full account of our stewardship right now, like that rich man demanded, what are the olive oil and wheat in our own lives?
What are those resources, talents, opportunities, maybe even relationships?
That we're perhaps squandering or just letting slide? Things we should be urgently, prudently redirecting towards something that offers a truly lasting eternal return. Something to think about.